Welcome to today's show where I'm going to be talking about Ninjago Docks, the set that you see here before you. It is a really cool set in the Ninjago architecture style, and today I'm going to be going over what I like about it, what I don't like about it, is it a good value for what you get, and how does it compare both within the Ninjago City realm of sets and also outside the Ninjago City realm of sets. And then lastly, what is going to happen 5 years from now? Is this thing going to be worth anything 5 years from now? So let's get started. Quick, let's look right down at the set. What do you get? Well, it's on a 1.5-plate sized base, and you can see that you have a column of shops here, some shops in the middle, or a house in the middle, shop on the bottom, and a column of shops on the left. So it's going to be a full 3-story sized building set way back in the lot because there's all this water around, and of course there's the docks. What it's named after is just this little bitty dock, and so we'll get a little bit later on is how many ninjas can Ninjago's dock. We'll see how many can really fit. And then we can go ahead and take a look at it from the back. So let me turn it around here. You can see the back is fully finished. It's very nice in of itself. So you have a good, nice front, a nice back, again, that is fully finished with a little bit of water there. And it does have some pinholes on the side here, so it can fit exactly with all the other modulars. Now this one almost looks like you'd want to, it has such a nice back to it that you'd want to sort of design around it if you're going to fit it with your modulars. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. All right, but since it's a modular design, and it has a finished back, that means how do you access all your stuff? Well, you access it from above. So let's take a peek from the top. And from the top, you can see this great pig here. They seem to be common of these balloon type animals. I think it's just great. But we can also highlight one thing I don't really like, and that is, for whatever reason, this antenna here, it just slides through. All it needed was a 1x1 round plate with a hole in the middle, and that would have secured that thing. But here and also here, so if you tip this too much, they'll just slide right out, which I think is kind of a weird thing. Maybe I did it wrong. I don't know. All right, but you see from the top here, let's take off the top and see what you get. So on the first level, you have like a news shop over here. You have, of course, Lloyd and Garmadon fighting. And then here you have this little arcade, which is sort of cool. It has some cool features. It has these little arcade machines. But as you can see, again, very tight, so you can't really even get your fingers in there to get a guy in there. It also has this little pop machine, soda machine, where it ejects soda. There it comes. Oh, down, and so you can see sort of the machine right there, how that works. And then you can load the next one in the top. So sort of cool function there. So let's go ahead and take those off. You can see sort of this cartographer's office here, and where these guys, I suppose, live or just work. And his boat is underneath here. And then here's the little dojo, the little teacher and student. And then there is this little apartment here as well. And this actually sticks on a little bit harder than you might expect. So there you go, a little tiny apartment with a little TV, a little sink, a little stove, and some bunk beds, but you can't really, it's hard to get to them, right? And you can sort of get to them like that. So you get some bunk beds. It does have some nice functionality there, though, to access all your different pieces. All right, and then we can go down one more level. This doesn't come off because of the boat that's down here. This one comes off and reveals this rotisserie chicken sort of market shop type space. And then this one comes off and reveals a stone mason's, where he makes some little sculptures, some stone chickens, some stone other sorts of guys. And here you can also access this one feature, which you can't see because we're looking from the top, but it does spin the rotisserie chicken in there. And one of the key, really interesting things is how every single roof has a different sort of build. Shovels, these little connector pieces, I'm not sure what they're called. And as we put these guys back on, no roof to so to speak in here. Here are, oh, here we go. Here we are, sort of standard, these flat plates are your roof there. Sort of like they prided them, the designer prided himself in creating a different kind of roof for every building, but still have them all go together. So here you can see this roof is done with flags, little flag pieces to put all those together. This is sort of done with your standard roof tiles, but in an interesting sort of way. Go ahead and stick this guy back on. And you can see they fit on pretty well. And then this roof is done with like these gurney type pieces. I'm not exactly sure what they are. And then of course with this crazy pig here. All right, so let's take a look from the front. And so you can sort of see how it all sort of goes together. You can see all the minifigures here. One of the things I don't like about it, like I've already mentioned, this antenna piece that just slides. I also don't like how they've made these walkways so smooth that it's hard to find spots for your guys to stand. I know they do have a few little studs in there to have them stand, but like, again, if there were studs out a little bit further, it would be easier to stand your guy up. Like trying to fit this couple on the balcony here, there's no place for them to stand because they're using these plates that are smooth instead of with studs. Studs are good for sticking your guys on. Smooth is not good for sticking your guys on. So there's a lot of those smooth plates, and of course there's no standing on the docks there. I mean, you can sort of balance if you have some fish to balance you out, right? There you go. The fish can balance her out standing on the docks. So let's take a quick look at the minifigures. So I'm just going to briefly go through the minifigures there. We're going to scroll through them. You can see you get a whole bunch of guys, and you only get Lloyd the Ninja. The rest are sort of extra figures. And then you do get a Garmadon. And of course you should have plenty of Lloyds, plenty of Garbodons. You probably have all the other ninjas as well. My very favorite piece in this entire set is this guy. Look at that hat. Look at it from this angle. Isn't that just the coolest looking piece ever? Ha, I think that's the coolest looking piece ever. Anyway, so the minifigures. You're getting it. Yes, a lot of them have more than one face on the side. I'm not going to go extensively into those minifigures, extensively into anything more. If you want to really get into dig of that, see what you're going to get, there are many other very fine reviews that will do just that. What I think is more important, what I think is more interesting is how many ninjas can this Ninjago Docks dock? If Ninjago Docks could dock ninjas. That's right, because it is Ninjago Docks. It is for the ninjas in Ninjago City. So what is going to happen? What if there's an emergency? What if there was a battle and this guy had to come in and dock? But what if there was a bigger battle and this guy had to come in and dock? Ooh, let's see if I can fit him in here. Holy smokes, it doesn't quite sort of fit. Oh, whew. As you can see, these two guys are heavily damaged due to some recent battles. Missing some front end stuff here, missing some back end stuff here. 50 bucks, not too bad for both of them. I guess, you know, I get a little bit excited when I see some stuff like that. Maybe I overpaid a touch, but in a couple years, I'll have brick-linked all the pieces for not very much, and these guys will be back whole again. So you can see, Ninjago Docks, how big the set is compared to some of these ships that you can get. Even this little $20 Destiny's Shadow, right? Pretty much fills up the entire dock. I guess if you dock in this way, right? And that's not even to mention, as these guys get out of the way, who's really meant to dock here, right? Who's really meant to dock here? Who's really meant to dock here is this guy, the Destiny's Bounty. And look at this guy. Now this is like your 3,000 passenger cruise ship coming to dock in little, you know, Juneau, Alaska, or wherever you're going to be. And so look at how this thing, you know, you can, right? You can sort of fit and dominate the entire shoreline if you're going to fit that guy in. So you can sort of see how big this Ninjago Docks is compared to some of these other ships that might actually be traveling in the waters there. Which brings us to the stats. What about the set? Is it a good value? Well, let's go ahead and throw those up there. As you can see, it costs $230. It costs more in many places, it's less in a few places, and it has 3,553 pieces. That is a lot of pieces, and it's very densely packed, right? It doesn't seem like it's quite that many pieces, but it is a lot of pieces. It weighs 9.6 pounds, so it's a pretty heavy set for $23 a pound for what you get for your value and your weight of what you get. So not only does it, for $230, do you get a lot of pieces, over 3,500 pieces, but you get 9.6 pounds of stuff. So this is all around, all these stats showing this is a really good value. The box that you see here is a standard big, little bit thicker box than standard. So like the Simpsons house, not nearly as big as the Ninjago City box that you see there. Really hard to ship. $196 per cubic foot to store this thing on your shelf. Pretty much signifies that for this size box, you know, it could have cost more. So again, it's a good value. It maybe could have even come in a smaller box, but it's hard to spend that much on small boxes because people do look at that and say, holy smokes, that's a small box. I'm not going to spend $230 on it. Anyway, so it's a big box. It's going to retire probably 2019-ish. It's really, really hard to say. It could be that this goes at the same time as Ninjago City. We will just have to wait and see, but I would count at least a year for this set into next year. But probably, I don't know, I don't think it will probably go into the 2020 year. All right, lastly, I built it. I weighed it at 6.4 pounds for actually what you have right here. And you think, wow, that's like 3 pounds less than what the whole thing weighs. Well, this manual all by itself is over 1.5 pounds. So there it is right there. And so when you average all that out by how much it weighs, you get 0.82 grams per piece, which is just a little bit bigger than one of these 1x2 bricks. And you think, well, when you have an unbelievable number of these little 1x2 tiles here to make up the water and all these little pieces, there are bigger pieces in there, and you actually average in the middle. There are modulars with smaller average piece sizes. There are modulars with bigger average piece sizes. So it's about right there in the middle. So overall, it seems like it is a really good value. But then why do I have this feeling that it isn't a good value? All my stats show that it should be a good value, but I look at this thing and I think $230. This looks like, you know, the size of maybe a castle that you would get for, you know, $150. And I'm trying to think why. Why is it? In fact, here, let's pull this guy in. So this guy, the Destiny's Bounty, $160. Look at just the size, the mass, the volume of space that it takes up. There's lots of air in this hull. There's lots of open space. In the Ninjago Docks set, there is not much open space. These rooms are tiny, they're compact, they're filled to the brim with stuff. So even though you get a lot of pieces, even though you get, it's really heavy, it just doesn't occupy that volume of space that you think maybe a $230 set should take up, at least from my point of view. And so in terms of value, let's say your kid is really, really into Ninjago. Well, you could get a Destiny's Bounty plus a Garmadon, or a Destiny's Bounty plus a Firstborn Dragon, or a Destiny's Bounty plus a couple dragons for as much as you could get one Ninjago Docks. Maybe that is really a much, much better value to go, even though, like I said, all those stats say that this is a really good value. If you have someone that you're thinking of this just because it's cool architecturally and they're not necessarily into Ninjago, once you get over $200, holy smokes, there's a lot of stuff you can choose from. The Silent Mary, the Snowspeeder, the Slave One, goes on and on, the Ferris wheel. You can get tons of stuff for $200 or less. Or maybe it is for a kid, but maybe he's getting a little bit older. Maybe he's 12, 13, right? Maybe these brick built aren't, maybe you should think about something else. Wouldn't some kid who's a little bit older be really psyched by getting the Mac Anthem truck instead for under $200 than maybe this set? There just is a lot of other stuff out there. And then of course you can always look at in the used market too, and it gives me an opportunity to bring out one of my favorite sets of all time. Boy, this guy does need a lot of work, doesn't he? Whew. All right, got my work cut out for me there. All right, one of my favorite sets, this thing keeps falling off, of all time, and that is the Medieval Market Village. If you really have a kid and you really want their imagination to go and look on the used market. $140 used, you can get a Medieval Market Village. Now I know this one's all decked out in white because this is part of my winter scene, so I pulled it out of my winter scene. I'm just gonna keep pulling out all these pieces. It sort of reminded me of the Ninjago Docks a little bit, in that you have a group of all these different buildings. Now it's not set on one single big, keep knocking that thing off, on one single plate. Ha! This radio antenna is going to get to me one of these days. All right, so you can see these buildings close up, and then they open again, close up, and then open again, and you have an inn, you have a blacksmith shop, you have a place to eat, you have some stables here. Anyway, $140, you can get this great set. It would come all with black roof tile. All right, there we go, all cleaned up, and let's compare it to something else. What else does this sort of remind you of on this times and a half size plate? You have half and a half, right? So it fills up more than one of these standard plates. Well, what it really reminds me of is the assembly square. So go ahead and let's slide this guy in there. You can see, except for these, which you can bend up if you need to, those holes exactly line up. You could fit this guy in, right? You could fit him right in there. And you can see how far back this is set. If we line these exactly up, how far back it's set in the plates. You can see how much bigger, how much more massive this feels at $280 though. But you still get this stacked 3-level high shops, but the scale is very similar. So if you were going to incorporate this into a city, the biggest challenge, of course, is going to be the water as it comes around. So that's something you'd have to work into. But in terms of the scale of what you get, it does fit very well into some of the modular, some of the other sorts of stuff that you have there. As you can see, the architecture is completely different, but really within the modulars, the architecture is all completely different amongst all of those as well. There's not one unified architecture for the modulars. So you can see it fits in there. I think there would be a creative way to fit those in, maybe with a bridge. Maybe they'll keep doing some of these modular styles of other things. That would sort of be fun to work those in. Do a modular style castle, do a modular, style friend's house. I don't know, make the Grand Hotel modular style. That would have been fun. So it's not just all the modulars that fit in with that scheme. I think that is going to be sort of cool, sort of fun. So hopefully they'll keep continuing. They might still keep continuing with Ninjago because, of course, Ninjago is going to keep going on despite that the movie is already all right. So what if you want to buy this as an investment? What if you want to know whether you're going to buy it and build it and you're going to be able to sell it in the future and at least get your money back? I always think that's a good benchmark. If the used set can at least get your money back, then Lego has held its value. Well, let's take a look at some of the other sets. These are the big unlicensed sets. There aren't too many of them. This, of course, does not count Star Wars or superheroes or any of those other big sets, just the unlicensed ones, which are mainly focused on the Lego movie properties themselves. But of course, there's the Haunted House, the Sea Cow, Temple of Air-Jitsu, Ninjago City, Joker Manor, and now the docks are sort of the big ones I identified. The retired ones out of that are the Haunted House, the Sea Cow, and the Temple of Air-Jitsu. Those are the big play sets of Lego properties, Lego-owned intellectual property. And if we go ahead and look at what has happened with those sets, you can see that only the Haunted House has really done anything. Yes, the Sea Cow had a big spike right when it retired, but has since settled down. So there isn't a whole lot of demand after the fact for some of these big sets. And now that's symptomatic of a lot of the big sets in general. That's just happened all throughout the Lego universe, except for that Haunted House, because it really had that crossover with the Halloween, with the being the decrepit house as part of your modular city. Can a mass of these Ninjago sets build up to create their own infrastructure, their own whole, sort of Asian influenced part of town? Maybe. But long term, in terms of investment, if you can get these cheap, go for it. I think that in 5 years from now, you will be able to do Ninjago City. You will be able to do the Ninjago Docks. The used ones will sell for what you retail, I would guess, within those certain number of years. So you're buying, you're building, you're selling later, I think is safe. In terms of buying these to hold, to go to college with, I would probably say not. So thanks for watching. Until next time, Lego on.